Have you ever walked out of the salon with a brand new bob, feeling hopeful, only to come home, look in the mirror, and think, something feels off? You tilt your head, smooth the sides, maybe even change your lipstick, but deep down you know it is not quite right. I have been there, and I know how disappointing that moment can be. After 50, so much about us changes in ways we do not always expect. The texture of our hair shifts, the lines of our face soften, even the way light dances across our skin is different. A style that felt perfect in our 30s may suddenly feel heavy, unflattering, or somehow out of sync with who we are today. It is not about age, and it is certainly not about you losing your beauty. Often, it is simply that the haircut is not designed for the woman you are now. Over the years, working with hundreds of women across the U.S., I have seen how the right bob can take years off your look, while the wrong one can quietly add them back. Today, I am going to share 6 bob styles that might be working against you without you even realizing it, along with the adjustments that can bring back softness, light, and confidence. I will also tell you stories from real clients who have made these changes so you can see exactly how small shifts can have big results. And if you stay with me until the end, I have a little-known styling mistake to reveal, one that even the best haircut cannot survive if you keep making it. Trust me, once you hear it, you will never look at your bob the same way again. The super straight, flat bob, when hair clings and shows every fine line. I used to believe that a sleek, perfectly straight bob was the ultimate sign of being polished. No frizz, no flyaways, every strand perfectly in place. It felt like the definition of sophistication. But as the years passed and I crossed that 50-year milestone, I began to notice something I had never paid attention to before. The straighter and flatter my bob became, the more it seemed to highlight the very things I wanted to soften. Instead of lifting my face, it clung to it, showing every fine line around my temples, forehead, and cheeks. According to the American Academy of Dermatology, by the time we reach 50, women naturally lose about 30% of their hair density. That means our hair simply isn't as full as it used to be, and pressing it down with a flat iron or heavy blowout can make it look even thinner. Without any lift at the roots, the hair creates a long, narrow silhouette that pulls attention straight down to the jawline. For many of us, that's an area we'd prefer to keep soft and balanced rather than emphasized. Here in the US, I see so many women my age stick with the super straight bob because it feels neat and low maintenance. I understand the appeal. For years, I did the same thing. But every time I looked in the mirror, I couldn't figure out why I seemed more tired than I actually felt. It wasn't until a client of mine, Linda from Chicago, shared the exact same concern that the light bulb went off for both of us. Linda had been wearing her sleek bob for over a decade, and it was her signature look. Yet lately, she said, people keep asking if I'm tired, even when I'm not. We made just a small change. I gave her a subtle crown lift during her blowout, using a medium round brush to pull the roots upward, and I added a few soft internal layers to give the hair gentle movement. We didn't chop off inches, and we didn't turn her into someone she wasn't. A week later, Linda called me, laughing, and told me, everyone at work asked if I'd just gotten back from vacation in Hawaii. That's what a little volume can do. It doesn't just change how your hair looks, it changes how people perceive your energy. If you've ever looked in the mirror after straightening your bob and wondered why your face looks longer, or why you seem less vibrant, it might not be your makeup or your mood at all. It could be the lack of lift in your hair. Adding even a touch of volume at the roots and creating a bit of natural texture can brighten your entire look. Sometimes the smallest shift in your haircut can give the biggest lift to your confidence. And as we move forward, there's another hair detail I want to share with you that can be just as transformative, though for a completely different reason. Reverse angled bob, when the back is longer than the front and pulls the eye down. I still remember the year I decided to try something different with my bob. My stylist at the time suggested a reverse-angled bob, the kind where the back is longer than the front. She called it edgy and modern, and I thought, why not? But when I got home and saw myself in different mirrors around the house, something felt off. Instead of making my face look brighter, the cut seemed to drag everything down. My eyes didn't stand out the way they used to, and somehow my jawline looked heavier. What I didn't realize back then was how much the shape of a haircut can direct the viewer's gaze. A reverse-angled bob naturally pulls the eye downward because the longest, heaviest part of the hair sits at the nape and shoulders. According to research from the International Journal of Trichology, visual lines in haircuts can significantly affect perceived facial proportions. When those lines angle down, they shift attention away from the eyes and cheekbones, which are features we often want to highlight, especially after 50. Think about it. Do you really want people's first glance to settle on your neck or collarbone instead of your smile? For many of us, the neck is an area that starts to show signs of aging earlier than we expect. I know mine did. And while there is nothing wrong with that, I prefer a cut that draws attention upward toward my eyes, not downward. One of my clients in Dallas, Karen, had a similar experience. She came in with a reverse-angled bob she had been wearing for years. She told me she thought it made her look slimmer. But when I showed her side-by-side photos of her current cut and a gently forward-angled bob, the difference was striking. With just a 1 to 2 inch difference between the back and the front, following the curve of her jawline, her whole face looked lifted. Her cheekbones appeared more defined, and even her skin seemed brighter, simply because more light was hitting her face. It is not about chasing trends. It is about finding balance and direction in your haircut. A soft forward angle, just enough to echo the shape of your jaw, creates a natural lift without feeling dramatic. It also grows out beautifully, so you are not rushing back to the salon every few weeks. Have you ever noticed how a certain cut can make you look more alert, even on days when you are tired? Or the opposite, when a style seems to weigh your whole look down? Share your experience, because I promise you are not alone in that discovery. And here is the thing I love most about hair. Sometimes changing the way it frames your face can change the way you feel about your whole look. The next detail we are going to talk about has that same kind of transformative power, just in a completely different way. Overlayered bob. When too many layers destroy the shape. I have always loved a good layered haircut. Layers can add movement, dimension, and make a bob feel fresh and youthful. But I learned the hard way that too much of a good thing can work against you. Overlayering, especially when the layers are uneven or not blended well, can strip the haircut of its structure. Instead of looking light and airy, the hair starts to look frayed and thin. This is even more noticeable after 50, when hair naturally becomes drier and more fragile. According to a 2022 report by the Professional Beauty Association, women over 50 are more likely to experience breakage and split ends due to reduced sebum production. That means the more we cut into the hair with layers, the more vulnerable the ends become. For many American women, especially those with naturally fine or straight hair, an overlayered bob can lose its body within weeks, leaving it limp and shapeless. I remember one of my clients in Florida, Susan, who was 59 at the time. She had a bob full of what she called beachy layers. On calm days, it probably looked fine. But the moment she stepped outside into that ocean breeze, the layers went wild. By the time she sat down in my chair, her hair was tangled, and the shape was gone completely. She told me, "I feel like I have to carry a comb everywhere." We decided to take a different approach. Instead of stacking layers all around, I focused them in the front third of her hair. This way, the cut kept its movement, but the rest of the bob stayed sleek and cohesive. We also trimmed the ends to be healthier and applied a lightweight argan oil to keep them smooth. A few weeks later, she came back and said, Now I can walk on the beach without worrying about my hair. I don't even need to carry a brush anymore. If you have ever looked at your haircut and felt like it lost its shape far too quickly, ask yourself if it might be the layers. Too many, too short, or cut in different directions can work against the natural flow of your hair. A well-balanced bob should have just enough layering to frame the face and create movement without breaking the silhouette. Have you ever had a haircut that looked amazing in the salon but seemed to fall apart after a week? Did it make you feel frustrated, like you had to style it constantly just to make it look decent? Share your story, because I know many of us have been there. The truth is, the right balance of layers can transform your look without adding daily maintenance. And as you will see next, there are other subtle details in a bob haircut that can make just as much of a difference in how fresh and youthful you appear. One-length bob, the solid shape that can weigh down your face. For years, I thought a one-length bob was the definition of classic. It is clean, it is simple, and it always looks neat. But as I got older, I started to notice something I had not seen before. That perfect straight line where every strand is cut to the exact same length began to work against me. Instead of softening my face, it framed it in a way that felt rigid. It made my jawline look wider and my features a little harsher than I wanted. There is a reason this happens. As we age, our facial contours naturally soften and our skin loses some of its elasticity. According to a 2023 study from the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology, women over 50 experience a noticeable reduction in collagen, which changes the way light reflects off the skin. When hair hugs the jaw too tightly in a solid, one-length cut, it emphasizes the width of the lower face and can create the illusion of heaviness. This effect is even more pronounced if your hair is naturally thick or straight. I remember a client of mine from Boston named Janet, who had worn the same one-length bob for nearly 15 years. She told me it was her no-fuss style, and she liked that it was easy to manage. But she also admitted that she had been feeling less confident in photos lately. She said, "I do not know why, but I look older in every picture." When I suggested adding a bit of internal layering to reduce the bulk, she was hesitant. "I do not want a choppy look," she warned. I assured her that internal layering is invisible to the eye but works wonders for movement and softness. We also beveled the ends slightly inward so that the hair followed and lifted her jawline rather than pressing against it. The transformation was subtle but powerful. Janet walked out of the salon with the same recognizable style she loved, but now it looked lighter, softer, and more modern. A week later, she called me and said, "My sister keeps asking if I lost weight, but I have not changed anything except my haircut." That is the beauty of the right adjustment. If you are wearing a one-length bob now, take a close look in the mirror. Does it make your face feel open and balanced, or does it feel like it is closing in around your features? Have you noticed that your makeup or jewelry does not seem to pop the way it used to? Sometimes the fix is not drastic. It is as simple as adding internal layers and a gentle curve at the ends to create lift. Hair has the power to frame not just your face, but also your confidence. And just like this, there are other small but impactful changes that can make a bob look fresher, lighter, and more flattering at any age. The over-cheek covering bob. When hair hides too much of your face. For a long time, I thought that letting the front pieces of my bob hug my cheeks was a clever trick. It felt like a way to hide the fine lines and soft skin that come with age. I was not alone. Many women I meet in their 50s and 60s believe that by covering more of the face, they are making it look slimmer or younger. But one day, as I was getting ready to go out, I caught a glimpse of myself in the natural daylight streaming through my window. The shadows from my hair were covering half of my face, and I realized that instead of hiding anything, I was just making my skin look dull and my expression less vibrant. There is a simple reason for this. Light is one of our best friends as we age. According to dermatologists at the Mayo Clinic, the way light reflects off the skin can significantly affect how youthful and healthy it appears. When hair covers too much of the cheeks, it blocks that natural light from brightening the face. This can deepen the appearance of lines, flatten the cheekbones, and take away the sparkle from the eyes. One of my clients in California, Mary Ann, was 63 when she decided to change her long-standing habit of wearing her bob tucked in close to her cheeks. She admitted she did it to hide what she saw as imperfections, but her friends kept telling her she looked tired. We decided to open up her face by allowing a small gap between her hair and her cheeks. I cut delicate, outward-facing layers that gently curved away from her skin. The result was immediate. People began asking her what she had done to make her skin look so much brighter. She told me later, laughing, "It is not a new cream or treatment. It is just my haircut." Sometimes the most flattering change is not about adding more coverage, but about creating space. When the hair frames the face without closing it off, it allows light to work its magic. The eyes catch more sparkle, the cheeks look lifted, and the smile becomes the center of attention again. If you stand in front of a mirror, pull your hair just slightly away from your cheeks and notice how it changes the way your face looks. What do you see? Do you notice more light on your skin? Do your eyes look more awake? Try it and see for yourself. Hair is more than a style. It is a tool that can either block or enhance the features you love most. And there are other small adjustments, just like this one, that can make a world of difference without changing who you are. The over-angled bob, when the front falls too long and throws off the balance. I remember the first time I saw an over-angled bob in a magazine. The model looked striking, with sharp, dramatic lines sweeping forward past her collarbone. It seemed bold and modern, and I thought, maybe I should try that. So I did. At first, it felt glamorous, but after a few weeks, I noticed something I could not ignore. The long, heavy front pieces were pulling my whole face downward. Instead of lifting my features, they made my lower face look longer and more tired, even on days when I was feeling full of energy. There is a visual reason why this happens. According to a 2024 study in the Journal of Visual Communication in Medicine, vertical or downward sloping lines in framing elements, like hair, can create the perception of lengthening in the lower face. For women over 50, when skin naturally loses elasticity and volume in the cheeks, adding more length in the lower half of the face can draw attention to the very areas we often want to soften. One of my clients in Seattle, Rebecca, was 56 when she came in with a sharply angled bob that had front sections falling well below her collarbone. She loved the drama of it, but admitted that she spent most of her day tucking the long pieces behind her ears because they were in the way. I suggested we shorten the front to just graze the top of her collarbone and add a few subtle layers to give it movement. The change was immediate. Her jawline looked more defined, her cheekbones popped, and the whole cut felt lighter and more cohesive. She later told me, "I did not realize my hair was making me look so tired until it stopped doing it. Sometimes we think more length equals more style, but in reality, it is about proportion. A slightly forward angle can be elegant and flattering, but when the front falls too far past the collarbone, it loses its connection to the rest of the haircut. By keeping the longest point around the collarbone and adding gentle layering, you maintain the sleek, modern feel without letting the weight pull your look down." Have you ever had a haircut that looked incredible in photos but did not feel right in your daily life? Did you find yourself constantly adjusting it or pushing it out of the way? Those are signs the style might be working against you instead of with you. Hair should enhance your natural shape, not fight it. And just like with this adjustment, there are other small refinements that can completely change how fresh and balanced your haircut feels. The over-curled ends mistake. I used to think curling the ends of my bob under until they were perfectly rounded made it look finished. It felt polished in the mirror at the salon. But when I saw photos of myself later, I realized it was making my haircut look stiff and dated. Instead of a soft, modern flow, I had something that reminded me of the helmet-like styles from decades past. Hairstylists often point out that overly curved ends can add visual width to the jawline. According to a 2021 Beauty Trends survey by Modern Salon, more than 60% of women over 50 prefer a hairstyle that creates lift and movement rather than one that hugs the face too tightly. That extra curve at the bottom can do exactly the opposite of what we want, especially if the goal is to create a light, flattering shape. One of my clients, Denise, 61, had been curling her bob ends religiously for years. When I suggested lifting the volume at the roots and letting the ends fall naturally, she was hesitant. But after we tried it, she looked in the mirror and said, "I feel like I just lost 10 years." Have you ever noticed how a small styling habit can completely change the personality of your haircut? Sometimes, a subtle shift in technique can refresh your entire look. And there are even more ways to create that kind of instant lift and lightness without making big changes at all. A well-chosen bob can be one of the most powerful tools to refresh your look after 50. The right shape, length, and cutting technique can highlight your best features while taking years off your appearance. In fact, according to a 2022 survey by AARP, over 70% of women over 50 said that a flattering haircut made them feel more confident in both social and professional settings. I know this firsthand. When I changed my own haircut a few years ago, friends kept telling me I looked more energetic, even though I had not changed anything else. Hair is not just a frame for your face. It is a frame for your spirit and confidence. Have you ever had a haircut that completely shifted how you felt about yourself? I would love to hear your story. Try one of the tips we talked about today and see what happens. And there are still so many little ways to keep your style feeling fresh that I cannot wait to share with you